There are a number of commands in the Quran where Allah has ordered and prohibited in the same ayat. Like his statement, وَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Worship Allah alone and don't make any shirk with Allah. That's what he told us in the Quran. وَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ شَيْئًا. So how are we going to worship Allah if we don't know who He is? And how are we going to stay away from shirk if we don't know what it is? It's the antithesis of worshiping Allah alone. Being a revert in Islam and having had the opportunity to travel all over the world, Muslims from every place where we come from, they make shirk with Allah. They pray to dead people in the graves. They pray to the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They do magic. They believe in the khurafat of non-Muslims. They celebrate kufr, paganistic, non-Muslim holidays, even if they don't believe it, like putting the Christmas tree up, like doing Valentine's, Easter, bunny rabbits, Easter eggs, being afraid of the number 13, dream catchers. All of that stuff is against the religion of Islam. Harry Potter, the cartoons that we watch. So when the person dies, the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, will come to the person and say, "Who is your Lord?" The one who knew his religion will respond, "Rabbi Allah." The one who doesn't have religion, or he doesn't know, he's going to say, I don't know who my Lord is. What's your religion? The one who learned his religion is going to say, Deen al-Islam, that's my religion. The one who doesn't know, he's going to say, I don't know what my religion is. And then those angels will ask the dead person, what did you have to say about that man who came to you? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The one who knew the religion is going to say he's Abdullah and Rasulullah. The one who doesn't know his religion is going to say, I heard the people saying something, so I said the same thing. I know his name is Muhammad, but he's Hazir Nazir. I know he's Muhammad, but he never died. I know he's Muhammad, but he knows the ilm al-ghayb. If my wife is sick or pregnant or my child, I make dua to the Nabi to help me to graduate or to pass the exam. And those are all the wrong answers. So knowing who Allah is imperative. Wallahi, people don't know who Allah is. And I want to tell you, especially those of you, and most of us are of color, and this is not about racism, this is just straight up, and this is how I talk, and this is what I believe. Because a lot of us have inferiority complexes. Europe, America, they're the superpowers, and they're leading the world. So a lot of people of color look at themselves as being second-class citizens. I tell you this, if you know who Allah is, you'll know who you are. You will never let someone tell you you can't do something. You want to be a doctor, a solicitor, you want to be a nuclear physicist, you can come from the lowest of the low. Your mother and your father have no education. They can't string an intelligent sentence along in Nahu. But if you know Allah, you know that Allah is fa'alun lima yurid, does whatever He wants to do. Wallahu ala kulli shayin qadir. And that's why those companions, when they came into Islam, they were with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they learned the religion. They left off and they shed all of that kufr and shirk, all of the khurafat, that stuff that they used to believe. When you say khinzir, you do like this. That's khurafat. It's not going to help you. That's not going to prevent anything from harming you, the evil eye, anything like that. So those companions, when they met up with the strong forces of the day, the superpowers, those companions defeated them. And they used to be 3, 4, 5 times lesser in number than the enemy. Because they understood. If Allah is with you, فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. If Allah is with you, nobody can defeat you. No one can defeat you. But if Allah is not with you, you are scared of everything. You're scared to be at home by yourself. If you're home by yourself, the woman is by herself. She doesn't want to be by herself. The person doesn't want the light to be turned off. Some of us have children. They're afraid of the dark. I understand that. But the Muslim is going to teach his child, don't be scared, afraid of the dark. Nothing can harm you and nothing can help you but Allah. You have to know Allah. Someone will tell you you can't start your business, your own business. You never did that before. You won't let people tell you that. But if you don't know Allah, as our ummah doesn't know Allah, not everybody, but this is the condition of our ummah. And that's why, again, wherever you put your finger down on the Islamic world, on the map, and you pick it up, is blood everywhere. Why? Because Islam is not the truth? Nah. Because the Muslims are not on the religion. We don't know who Allah is. What I mean by that is what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we talk about Allah's names and attributes, especially his names, what he does, what he doesn't do, who he is and who he isn't, what is befitting and what's not befitting, is a pinnacle piece of our religion. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent 3 of his companions to Yemen to give those people dawah ilallah. One of them was a man by the name of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal was from the scholars of al-Islam. Rasulullah did not send ignorant people out to give dawah. So we have some Muslim groups, like myself. When I first became a Muslim, I'm looking for the truth. I met a group of brothers who go around and they stay in the masjid. And they asked me, get up and talk. I said, I'm going to talk about what I'm talking about. I want to talk. They said, it'll come to you. No. You have to talk about this religion when you know what you're talking about. You don't have to be a scholar, but everybody should stay in his lane. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Don't put your foot in the arena that it doesn't belong. Stop giving fatwas, Islamic rulings. He sent this scholar to Yemen, and he told him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّكَ تَقْدَمْ عَلَى قَوْمٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ فَاجْعَلْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ أَن يُوَحِّدُوا اللَّهَ. He said, listen, Mu'adh, you're getting ready to go to a group of people with Jews and Christians. You have to know who you're about to talk to. You have to read the room. You can't be tone deaf. You can't talk to everyone the same way. If I was in a masjid full of African American, my brothers in America, I'll talk to them a different way. I know that I can open up and talk to them in a way that they'll understand me. Sometimes when I give the khutbah and I use the language and the jargon of my people, I get people from the audience who come to me and say, I don't think you should have said that. One time I was talking about violence, gun violence, from the minbar, and I was demonstrative. I took my hand like I had a gun, and I went pow, pow while I was talking. Next thing you know, you're dead. Pow, pow, he shot you. A brother came to me and said, don't do that, you scared me. I said, I scared you, man. He said, yeah, that's, and you did it sideways like hip-hop people, gangsters. I couldn't believe it. Wallahi, that happened. I said in the khutbah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam checked out. And he didn't check out before teaching us everything that we needed to know. Wallahi, a brother came to me and said, what do you mean Rasulullah checked out? Like he went to Audi's. I said, you think that's what I mean, he checked out? He said, no. He looked it up. African-American slang, it means what? He died. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The brother said, I don't think you should use that language with Rasulullah. I have to take that on board. But with my own people, they wouldn't make any issue out of that. So the point is, you're going to give dawah to people, you have to know who you're giving dawah to. And you have to deal with them based upon that. As a person of authority, you speak to them a certain way. As a person who doesn't have a high a high level of intellect or education, you don't speak to him above his ability to understand. So the Nabi, he knew that. He taught his companions that. He told them, you're going to a group of people with Jews and Christians. They have background about revelation, the prophets, Yom Qiyamah, things like that. They're not like the mushrikeen of Quraysh, the polytheists. But the point is, he said, make the very first thing that you invite them to in your dawah is that they should make the tawheed of Allah. The tawheed of Allah. That's a word every Muslim should know. Our kids who are Arabs and non-Arabs should know that word. Somali, whatever your ethnic background is. Because the Prophet used the word. Make sure you talk about a tawheed, the first thing. A tawheed, in the language of the Arabs, it means to make multiple things one, to bring things together and to make them one. The tawheed of Allah is the ifrad of Allah bil ibadah, that you worship Allah alone. Tawheed means bring multiple things together. Like all of you people are sitting together in different, I make the tawheed of the people. We're going to all sit in one line, going across horizontally or diagonally or whatever. It's going to be one line. That's the tawheed. So instead of worshiping all of these guys and idols and all of these ideas, we're going to make the tawheed of Allah. Call the people to worship Allah alone. So in knowing who Allah is, you have to know that there is no duplicity with Allah. He's not a God who is divisible. Allah is one. His name is Al-Wahid Al-Ahad. It's from his names. So when the Prophet started giving da'wah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to the kuffar of Quraysh, they were giving him problems. As soon as Rasulullah said, Allah is one, those disbelievers of Quraysh, they understood many things from that. They understood that all of their idols are going to be thrown away. They're going to be made obsolete because they have to worship Allah. And if their idols become obsolete, that's going to be an economical problem for them. Because the Arabs of Sham used to come to Mecca and they would make money. So if we're only going to worship Allah alone, then our prestige and our position with our idols and our gods, that's going to be thrown out of the window. That was one of the many reasons why they opposed the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another reason is this is not what we found our fathers doing. Why do you find Sikhs and Hindus having so much deep-seated hatred against Muslims? Because we're the religion of monotheism. And their religion is the religion of worshiping cows, monkeys, gods, statues, this person, that. Worshiping everything. So when Islam comes and says, you can't worship all of that. They hate Islam. Not just hate Islam, but with a passion. So the kuffar of Quraysh, they said, Ya Muhammad, we want to ask you a question. Tell us, what is your God, Allah, that you worship? What is he made of? You see our gods. He's made out of copper, iron, wood, dates. You see our gods. What is your God made out of? Allah revealed the ayat, the surah, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And he said that small surah equals a third of the Quran. So if you read it 3 times, you get the reward of reading the Quran. It's a third. That's how powerful it is. That's how mighty it is. A third of the Quran. Why? Because the Quran is telling us about the stories of the people who went before us, their history, Ad and Thamud and Fir'aun and all of them. The Quran is telling us about what the reward is going to be for the believers and the disbelievers in the hereafter. And the Quran is telling us about who Allah is, his names, his attributes, what he does. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu Samad, as-Samad. He doesn't need anybody. Your practicing, my practicing doesn't help Allah. Not practicing doesn't harm Allah. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He wasn't born, nor does he have children. Wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. and nothing, nobody is like him. Allah's name is Al-Alim. He has knowledge. You have knowledge, but your knowledge is not like Allah's knowledge. Allah's a Samir. He hears. You hear, but your hearing is not like Allah's hearing. He's Al-Basir. He sees. You see. Lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Nothing is like unto him. Hal ta'lam lahu samiyan? That's what he said. Do you know that Allah has anyone similar to him? No one is similar to Allah. So here in this room, some of us are closer to each other than others are to us. You can come to the person and say, hey, my man, Saeed, I met you a few years ago. We made Hajj. You're like my younger brother from another mother. I have nothing but love for you. Can you let me borrow 500 pounds? Maybe he'll give it to me. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll give it to me and he'll be happy to give it to me. Maybe he'll give it to me, then he'll make riba about me after that. Maybe he'll give it to me and charge me riba and this and that and that. Allah is not like that. When you ask Allah, Allah doesn't play games with you like that. The way human beings. And that's why the Prophet told the young man, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he was young. People think when the Prophet died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah ibn Abbas was some old man. When the Nabi died, Abdullah ibn Abbas was about 16 years old. 16. He put the young man behind him and he said to him, riding on the camel, showing how humble he was. The Nabi of Islam, the Sayyid of Bani Adam. He's the first person in the Jannah. He's going to have the Maqam and Mahmud in Jannah. He's the best human being. And yet, he can tolerate a young person being that close to him. He said to him, Ya ghulam, inni u'allimuka kalima, or kalimat. I'm going to teach you some words, young man. I'm going to teach you some words. إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. If you ask for something, ask Allah. And if you need someone's help, ask Allah to help you. Remember Allah in the good times. Allah will remember you in the bad times. Remember Allah when you have money and give sadaqah. Remember Allah when you got good health. When you have good health. When you become old, Allah will remember you. Meaning you'll get paid back for that. Remember Allah at the time when you have the ability. You got life, take advantage of it. He said to the boy, no, if all of the people and all of the jinn came together to harm you, they will never be able to harm you unless Allah wrote it for you. And if they came to hurt you, they would never be able to hurt you. So he taught the young man the importance of know Allah, brother, know Allah. Don't be one of those people who, instead of telling your children who Allah is, you choose or we choose to teach them hocus pocus nonsense. The boogeyman is going to come and get you. What boogeyman? What boogeyman is going to, what does he look like? If the kid loses his tooth, put your tooth under the pillow. The fairy godmother is going to fly, little white baby, and bring you 50 pence in replacement for the tooth. Today is Christmas. I used to be a Christian. We used to believe Santa Claus, Father Christmas, brought us gifts and put them under a tree. Wallahi, we believe that. Instead of my mother and my father saying, we bought these gifts for you, they taught us a white man that was overweight. And it's not about white or black or overweight. How do you teach your children hocus pocus? As opposed to just tell them the truth. So if you know Allah, you'll know yourself. If you know Allah, you'll know other people. As a Muslim, I will never allow Mo Salah to be a leader of mine. I will never allow Kanye West to be a leader of mine. I will never allow LeBron James, Messi, to be the examples for me as a Muslim. Does that mean I don't acknowledge the skills that they have and what they're doing? No, I acknowledge that. But those are not my heroes. As a Muslim, the heroes to me are the people who taught me who Allah is, starting with the prophets and the messengers, the righteous people of the Quran, and my dad, who's a Muslim. He taught me. He gifted me a nice name. He said, your name is Abdullah. And he taught me about this religion and gave me the heritage that your parents gave you. Those my heroes. Not the Labour Party, not the Democratic Party, none of that stuff. My heroes. That doesn't mean I can't acknowledge people for what they bring to the table. The names and the attributes of Allah. Know Allah. Know Allah. And I'm telling you now, many of us don't know Allah. So the Prophet told that companion, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, call the people to Tawheed. Listen, a Tawheed, worshiping Allah by himself. That's what he created us for. He created us to worship him. He sent all of the books down so that people will worship him alone. He sent the prophets and the messengers so that people will worship him alone. He created the Jannah and the Nar as a reward for the people who worshiped him alone. I'm a father, and I think I work hard for what I earn. I can't understand it. I can't get my head around it, that if I were to buy something for my children, like a pair of trainers, costs 150 pounds, for an example. So my son, he passed his exam, so I buy him those trainers, or something I see it as being expensive. My son receives the trainers and doesn't say to me, Jazakallahu khaira, Dad, which is the best thing he could say. Thank you is cool. That'll pass the grade. But Jazakallahu khaira. Rasulullah said, anyone who did good for you, if you say to him, Jazakallahu khaira, you have hit the epitome of paying him back. Doesn't mean you can't say shukran. Shukran will work, but it's not like Jazakallahu khaira. Just as when your kid sneezes, achoo, we don't say to him, God bless you. We don't say that. So I buy my boy this 150-pound pair of kicks. After he takes the kicks, he gets his bolts, and he just takes them from me, and he starts getting in the wind, he starts stepping. And he didn't say anything to me. Then he goes to the Imam right here, Abu Ahmed, and he says, Jazakallahu khaira, for the shoes. Do you know how furious and infuriated I would be? All the sweat that I done did to get this boy that, and he's going to give my efforts, the appreciation to someone else. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثُلُ الْأَعْلَى. With Allah, it's worse than that. Allah gave you life. Allah gave you all of the things that he gave us. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تَحْصُوهَا. Allah gave you people from everything you asked for. And if you would count the favors of Allah upon you, you would never be able to do so. Allah has two names. He has a name, Al-Kareem. He has a name, Al-Jawad. Al-Kareem, Jawad. Both of them mean generous, but what's the difference between them? Generous, Kareem, when you ask him, he gives to you. Al-Jawad, you don't ask, and he gives it to you. Did you ask Allah for the air? Did you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 3 sons, 2 daughters? Did you ask Allah for all of these things he gave us? Safety and security, all this stuff? Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Bismillah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Both of them mean Rahmah. Both of them mean Rahmah, both of them. But Ar-Rahim, Allah has Rahmah only to the believers, Yawmul Qiyamah. Ar-Rahman, yeah, it's Rahmah on everybody and everything. Muslim, non-Muslim, good person, bad person. Wasiyat rahmati kulli shay. His Rahmah is everybody. But Yawmul Qiyamah it won't. Non-Muslims who die on kufr and shirk won't get any Rahmah from Allah, no matter who they are. No matter what they did. But here comes the Muslim who doesn't know Allah. So he puts his intellect in the arena that he or she is not qualified. They say, what about Martin Luther King? What about Mahatma Gandhi? What about Auntie Teresa? What's that Ben's name? What's her name? What about Mother Teresa? They did all good. Well, I say, first you need to be careful about who these people are telling you are examples, because usually when you go back and you check the books and the receipts for real, most of them were not nice people. Most of them. Mahatma Gandhi wasn't a nice guy, but no problem. Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, and all that. No, what about them? They're going to go, no rahmah. Why? Because they made shirk with Allah. Like my son, they gave the thanks and the praise to other than Allah for all of what he did. So we have to know Allah Azza wa Jal. We have to teach our children those names and attributes of Allah. Listen to the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Rasulullah said in an authentic hadith, Inna lillahi tis'atum wa tis'een isman, mi'a illa wahida, man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah. Allah has 99 names, 100 minus 1. Anyone who memorizes those 99 names will go into Jannah. First of all, you don't know the 99 names because Rasulullah didn't tell us 99 names. These are them. That red Quran, that Mus'haf, the one the Asians use, many Pakistanis. You know what I'm talking about? The red one. I'm going to call it the Pakistani one. You know what I'm talking about? You got the green one, the Hajj one, that one. What is it called, the Pakistani one? Yeah, that one. In the back of that Quran, and many Qurans, you'll find the 99 names of Allah. Any hadith that you read and it said this is the 99 name of, it's not authentic. We don't know what those 99 names are. That's why you have to read as much of the Quran to learn and the Sunnah to learn what those names are. And what's the meaning? Whoever memorizes them will go into Jannah. You just memorize them? No. It means three things. You memorize them, which means you have to memorize as many names as possible. Number two, you work by them. If you know Allah is all hearing, then don't let Allah hear you doing things. Don't let him see you doing things. If you know Allah is all powerful and mighty, then don't oppress people. If you know that Allah Ta'ala is shadidul, he can really deal with you, then you have to act appropriately. That's the second meaning. The third meaning is you know the meaning of those names. You know the difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, Al-Kareem and Al-Jawad. So that goes to show the importance, my brothers and my sisters from Masjid al-Rahmah, of not being those Muslims who were just cultural Muslims. Just cultural Muslims. We have to teach our children from the names of Allah. Allah hu razaqu dhul quwwatil mateen. Allah is ar-Razaq. He is the one who provides. The one who provides is not your job. The one who provides is not this one. Allah is ar-Razaq. Everything and everybody in creation, Allah provides. And he is dhul quwwatil mateen. He's the most powerful. He's mateen. So the boy sees his dad, and the dad is upstairs, and we hear a noise downstairs. It sounds like someone can be breaking in the house. It could be a fox outside. It could. The son sees the dad say, "Hey, I'm gonna go check that out right now." And he says, "Wow, my dad is brave, man. Look at my dad." His dad is not the one who says to his wife, "Hey, can you go check that out? Can you go see what's going on? What's that noise about? I'm going to call the police." No. We have to teach our, if all I do as a father is watch soccer, football on TV, that's what I'm teaching my kids. And I am not against recreation and sports. No. Nor am I one of those people, we have to be serious all the time, 24/7. No. But we have to teach our children this religion. We have to know the religion. You know that Allah Ta'ala, He knows everything. No one knows what's in the arham except Allah. The rahm. Some of our wives are pregnant right now. Only Allah knows what's in the rahm. Meaning what? Does that mean that you don't know after 6, 7 months it's a girl or boy? Only Allah? No. Allah allowed you to know that. Allah allowed the people to know that. That's not what that hadith, that ayat is talking about. I know the sex of the baby in my wife's stomach right now. But that's not the ilm al-ghaib. That's the ilm that Allah allowed people to know, like the angel. He sends the angel to a lady after 120 days. 40 days, sperm. 40 more days, a morsel of flesh, a leech-like clock. 40 more days, 120, and morsel of flesh. And then Allah sends the angel to the lady's womb to blow into it after 120 days. And the angel writes down if it's going to be a boy or girl. So the angel knew that. 5 months before the child was born, Allah allowed him to know that. Just as he allowed the people to know in the hospital. But what it means, Allah knows what's in the arham. Allah knows every piece of blood that's going through that baby. Allah knows every detail about the enzymes connected to that baby. Allah knows every minute detail of the mother when she eats pilau rice, white rice, this or that, how it gets broken down and goes through that baby. Allah knows if that baby is going to come out alive or not. If that baby is going to come out handicapped or not. Allah knows all of that. And we put all of this stock in technology. No, technology is important, but technology is not Allah. It's not Allah. You know Allah, you know yourself. You know Allah, you know the creation. And this is one of the reasons I have a lot of respect and love for people like Muhammad Ali, that iconic figure. That man, he ain't perfect, but he had courage. Man had dyslexia. Couldn't really, academically, he wasn't that good. But he gave talks in Cambridge University and did not bite his tongue for anyone. I have even more respect for Malcolm X, from where he came from, the gutter. But when he got this religion, that man was a prince by the true meaning of the word. Whereas some of us start off with better conditions, but we have no principles and we have no courage. And some of us under the thumb of women. Some of us are so afraid we can't even go to the job and let the people know, listen, don't call me Mo, man, and don't call me Larry. That ain't my name. My name is not Jack. That's not my name. My name is Abu Usamah. That's what I want you to call me. Don't play with the name. Don't cut it up. Don't abbreviate it unless I let you. But I'm not going to let you because I want you to know every day that as a Muslim, I'm on equal footing with you. I'm not a second-class citizen. Know Allah. Know the names. Know the attributes of Allah. Listen. And I'm going to end with this, inshallah. Allah's names are all beautiful. All of his names are beautiful. He said in the Quran, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ أَيِّمَّا تَدْعُوا فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. Listen to this. Make dua and call him Allah. Or make dua and call him Ar-Rahman. Because the kuffar of Quraysh did not like that name. Whatever you call him by, he has the most beautiful names. Al-Asma al-Husna. I'll say it and you say it. Al-Husna. Al-Husna. Good job, my man. Al-Husna. Hey, little man, don't let me come over there. Get ready. Al-Husna. All of Allah's names are Husna. There's a difference between Husna and Hasna. Husna and Hasna. You ask the Arab, what's the difference? Al-Husna and Al-Hasna. Al-Husna means beautiful, and there's no beauty that's above it. Nothing is above it. That's Allah's names. Hasna is beautiful, but someone else can be more beautiful. He say, hey, your wife is Hasna. Really, his wife is Hasna. But then he sees this other sister, and she's a Habbatu Soda. You know the Habbatu Soda? Black Lives Matter, man. This is a white girl. She's Hasna. She's Hasna to some people. But then that Habbata Sauda comes from Somalia, from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, from Ghana, from, all of those places where Habbata Saudas are. She's Hasna, but she's Hasna too. Allah's names are Husna. Nothing is more beautiful than it. Nothing. From every angle. Allah hears everything. Allah hears the black ant walking on the black rock in the middle of a black cave. He hears it, sees it, knows it. Knows its mother, when it was born, when it's going to die. Knows everything about it. So that one ayat. Call him by Allah, call him by Ar-Rahman. The Kuffar of Quraysh, in one of the campaigns called Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Got to sit down, talk to your kids about this. The Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud, the Battle of the Khandaq, the Battle of Khaybar. Got to tell your kids about this. Sulh Hudaybiyah. Rasulullah, they were going to fight, but then things calmed down. They went to write an agreement. Rasulullah told Ali, write, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. They said, what is this Rahman ar-Rahim? What is this? We don't believe in this Rahman ar-Rahim. What are you talking about? We believe in Allah, not... Rasulullah said, erase it. He erased ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is between Muhammad, Rasulullah, and Quraysh. They said, what do you mean, Rasulullah? If we thought you were Rasulullah, we never fought you. He said, erase it, erase it. Because Islam, we're trying to harmonize with people. We're trying to live with people and coexist with people. We're not going to fight and prevent progress over words like that unless they go against the deen. He knows he's Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he has an Asma al-Husna, another surah called Al-Hashr, Surah Al-Hashr. Allah Ta'ala said about himself, Huwa Allah, alladhi la ilaha illahu, alimul ghaybi wa shahada, huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Huwa Allahu alladhi la ilaha illahu, الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر هو الله الخالق الباري المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو الرحمن الرحيم وهو العزيز الحكيم. All of those names have meanings to them. All of those names have implications. They are all from his Asma al-Husna. All of those names. So my call to you guys, to you brothers and you sisters, is to come to know about the beautiful names of Allah and what they mean, what they imply. Yes. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ. Third ayah. To Allah belongs all of the beautiful names, so call on him by those names. Oh Allah, you are Razaq, give me money. Oh Allah, you are Al-Azim, help me. Allahumma la shafi illa shifa'ak. Allahumma la shifa illa shifa'ak. Allah, no one can help me to get well except you. Make me well. And on and on and on and on. And on and on and on and on. Learn about these names and the attributes of Allah, and learn how to make dua with these names and by these names and with these concepts, and leave the hocus pocus alone. Leave the hocus. I have to mention this, the last thing about this ayah. Leave the people who make ilhad in the names of Allah. Ilhad, like a mulhid. A mulhid is like a person who has really bad beliefs or really bad actions. Like the group of youngsters who went into a masjid, and I saw this on social media. They broke into the masjid, took the mushafs and kicked them all around, and some of them put an illegal drug and substance on the mushaf, and they were taking drugs in the masjid. That's ilhad. Like in Iraq, when the American soldiers and the British special forces, the stuff they were doing to people, raping girls and mothers and all of that and killing their fathers. That's just, just going overboard with nastiness. Allah said, leave those people who do this with Allah's names. What is ilhad in the names of Allah? Pay attention to this. Ilhad is for a person to call Allah by a name that doesn't befit His majesty. Like, He's the Father. Allah is no father. Lam yalid walam yulad walam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. No human being, He's a father. So if someone says, God the Father, a'udhu billahi, why Allah has to be the Father? What are you talking about? Father, boys, girls, angels, jinn? What are you talking about? That's ilhad. Ilhad in the names of Allah is what Kuffar Quraysh used to do. Allah has the name Al-Aziz. They would make an idol and call the idol Al-Uzza. Allah's name is Al-Ilah. The Ilah, the one who's worshipped. They would take that name, Allah's name, and make an idol and call him Allat. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's ilhad in Allah's names. Star Wars, when I was young, Star Wars was a big movie. I think that's way before most of your time. But knowing the way these people work, they probably have a Star Wars 15, 16, because it becomes a company. They just keep making Friday the 13th, 25 now. I thought Freddy Krueger died a long time ago, but they keep leaving them alive. And people keep going to watch it. So anyway, Star Wars, they said the Force. Let the Force be with you. What Force you talking about? Allah's not the Force. What are you talking about? And that's why it's not cool as Muslims to expose our minds to this stuff, and then we use that language. So I'm about to leave my brother, and I say, all right, man, I'm out. Rap to you later. The Force be with you. Man, don't say stuff like that. Call Allah by the names He called Himself, by the names that Rasulullah called Him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I end with this. There's a brother in our audience I met. He knows all the people that I know from America. I want to welcome him and welcome all the other people. My man standing up over there, I forgot his name. He told me his name. Everybody who's here, Muslims, non-Muslims, friends, everything, welcome the message. You can always come back. My man over there, he can identify with a lot of what I'm saying, but listen to something that's the ilhad. Did you guys ever hear of the 5%ers of America, the 5%ers? You heard of them? The 5%ers in America, they take some of Islam. They are a bit like the Nation of Islam, but they're worse. They're worse. They call themselves the 5%ers, and I'm done. They call themselves the 5%ers because they say 85% of the world is controlled by 10% of the people. And that's true. 85% of the world, 10% of the world's wealth, or 85% of the world's wealth is in the possession of only a few people. Like right now, it's real tough with these energy. I keep my heat off because it's costing me a lot of money. I'm sure everybody else. But why is it that the companies like BP, they making 300% markup? Where's the crisis? The crisis is with us, on us. It's on the working man. These guys are still making a lot of money, and we can barely get by. We have to tighten our belts and freeze. So these guys, 5%ers, they say 85% of the world is controlled by 10%. How much is left from 100? I was looking for the young brothers to make sure they know how to count. This is not just a masjid about, praying and stuff. You got to know how to count, man. You got to know how to count. I want you to be a bum. So they call themselves the 5%ers, and they believe that they're gods. So when they see each other, they say, what's up, God? Or they call themselves supreme. Or they call themselves supreme mathematics. Now look at the breakdown. Each one of them believes that they're Allah. Look at this nonsense. They say Allah, A-L-L-A-H. I'm Allah. Arm, leg, arm, head. I'm Allah. Can you believe that? Arm, leg, arm, head. I'm Allah. And then some people who are Muslims go to America with a weak deen and they meet these people and they listen to the Wu-Tang. And while listening to the Wu-Tang talk this stuff, that guy who was born in Islam, raised in Islam, but his parents didn't teach him Islam, he started saying, I'm a 5% too. I am a 5% because he doesn't know who he is. Know Allah, you know yourself, man. Last thing I'm going to say is, for a lot of our brothers, you guys have these hairstyles. I understand, man. I was you one day. I used to be young, and I was trying to find myself as I was growing. But I didn't have Islam. I tell you, brothers, again, the Muslim identity is something you have to work on. You have to know why you want to dress the way you dress. Why do you want to wear your hair like that? Why? Don't let your answer be, I don't know. Everybody else is doing it. Don't let that be your answer. Don't let that be your answer. You guys continue to, inshallah, hold on to your Islamic personalities and identities and know Allah and know Allah. And know that there are some names that you can't call Allah, but we don't have time to get into all of that. In concluding, I want to thank all of you guys for attending our winter conference. We're not going to call it Christmas conference. We're going to call it the winter conference. The winter conference. May Allah bless you all, and may He bless everybody who has something to do with this.